And we are live, everybody. I want to thank everybody for joining us and coming to watch the show tonight. Those of you in the chat and folks that'll be watching it later. I'm also want to first of all thank my co-hosts. We've got Lou Mars next to me, and Lou, do you want the microphone, Lou? Here you go.
Oh, are we doing that? I didn't bring my.
No, it's all.
I'm surrounded by gear.
Lou Mars, multi-instrumentalist, award-winning drummer, Grammy nominee, author, LouMarsBooks.com. And Lou's got a new project going, but it's kind of top secret. We're not going to say much about it. And just below me is Dan, just the facts man. And Dan has been a podcaster longer than anybody else I know. He's got a great show. He's got all kinds of stuff on it. You got to go check out Just the Facts Man. I'm a huge fan, and I feel really proud to have both Dan and Lou as co-hosts. I mean, these guys really make the show, and so it's been great having them. So anyway, tonight we're going to talk about psychedelic music, primarily psychedelic rock, because the genre of psychedelic music really covers. I mean, it goes into blues, it goes into some folk, it goes all over the place, you know. But we're I don't care where we go, but we're kind of focused on the rock part of it, and psychedelic rock, you know, originated in the '60s. With American and British musicians both exploring kind of a new subgenre of rock. And it was based on, inspired by, influenced by actually the use of hallucinogenic drugs. And that's kind of where the psychedelic rock thing comes from. People were, you know, in fact, some of the music was actually, it actually invoke some of the same things in a person that psychedelic drugs invoked. And so psychedelic drugs were involved, like I said, LSD, psilocybin mushrooms, mescaline, weed, anything that was mind altering was all part of the whole psychedelic culture and psychedelic rock music. So it really blew up, you know, and it really took off like in say 67, the Summer of Love. The biggest part of psychedelic music came out of 67 and 69. Now, having said that, it's still being made today. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that was the explosion in psychedelic, not only the music, but the experimentation with psychedelic drugs. It's not that all that's disappeared, but it's not like it was. It was very, very prominent back in the day.
Well, you got to keep in mind too that when the psychedelic thing hit, LSD was not illegal at the time, so it wasn't. So that was one thing that kind of made it widespread real quick. It was legal.
Widespread real quick. In fact, I don't think any conversation about psychedelic music or psychedelic drugs would be complete without at least a tip of our hat to Timothy Leary.
Yeah.
Timothy Leary, famous counterculture icon from the 60s. He was actually a Harvard psychologist and profound, you know, he started taking psychedelic drugs. He started promoting them and encouraging people to take them. He was kicked out of his job as a psychology teacher. He was in and out of jail. He was always promoting the benefits of LSD. And he was in and out of jail. He escaped from jail, wound up in Algiers as a guest of the Black Panthers, who were also kind of, you know, not allowed back if they didn't want to, unless they wanted to go back to jail. And so in 1970, Richard Nixon called Timothy Leary the most dangerous man in America. He broke out of jail, like I said, escaped to Algiers, and briefly enjoyed the hospitality of the Black Panthers. And but anyway, he died of prostate cancer in 1996. The following year, 7 grams of his ashes were launched into space aboard a Pegasus.
You're going to say something else. 7 grams of his ashes were snorted.
Pegasus rocket, you know.
Well, he really got high.
Yeah, I was going to say that. That would have been so perfect. 7 grams of his ashes were sold.
The peak years for psychedelic music and the psychedelic culture were 67 through 69. Of course, 67, we had what's been termed the Summer of Love, where 100,000 people converged on San Francisco, all subculture, hippie-ish, long hair, taking all kinds of drugs, including and especially psychedelic drugs. And so that was what was going on. I actually have a video on Haight-Ashbury in the Summer of Love under my tours of famous places. But anyway, at the same time, 2 years later, we had the Woodstock Music and Arts Festival in Bethel, New York, and that was the same thing. That was the entire counterculture there, using drugs, taking psychedelics. Never forget the PA speakers screaming, "Don't touch the brown acid!" But everybody was there was a lot of psychedelic drugs being used there. So it was that 67, 69 time period, and again, there are still psychedelic songs being made today in psychedelic bands. And we were talking a little bit earlier, Lou, and you were going to talk about one of the newer events.
Yeah. Well, there's two, but one is more than the other. In 2006, they created Lightning in a Bottle. That's one of the most current.
Lightning, okay.
Lightning in a Bottle. If you look it up, it's a Central Coast festival. It's huge. It's kind of like Burning Man, but more focused on the music. The basis of the festival is stated as that it's about being more aware of the environment and everything else. But when you go there, it's not so kumbaya. It's more, you're wasted like the old festivals. But what's cool about what these new festivals have done that the old ones could not or weren't up to yet is the staging. And I got to say, one of the big improvements of today's psychedelic festivals, and even Live Oak, especially when it was in Santa Barbara, they would have themes every year. Alice in Wonderland theme. They will have, Wizard of Oz theme. And when you go, everything everywhere looks like that. They had giant mushrooms and all this. So the visual effects, even without the drugs before you get there, are amazing. Of course, today's sound systems are more amped up. So you get your ass kicked with sound and visual on today's psychedelic festivals. And they're taking nowadays, I'm going to preempt this. I'm not promoting drugs, people, so don't yell at me after this.
We're not promoting drugs. We're just talking about an interesting era in our society. What's going on?
Yeah,
what today... What I want to show is, now I did a little research on Burning Man. I have friends and relatives that have gone to the Burning Man Festival. It's not your typical rock concert at all.
No, that started out with a dude being divorced and pissed off.
It's kind of like people go there and build these massive structures just temporarily during the festival, and the women are all dressed crazy. It's I don't know. I've never been there, so I can't really describe it. I do have
music
a few pictures to show. Yeah. Look at the structure here that was built at Burning Man. That's one of, I think, hundreds of things that get built at this crazy place.
Well, they burn them at the end. They burn them all. They burn them all.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why the effigy, the original Burning Man, the dude was divorced and pissed. Oh, that looks like my ex. That's not good. Anyways, it really did. The Burning Man, that messed me up. Trigger. He built a big effigy to burn of himself as a starting over. He was starting over his life, and it just caught on, and everyone makes these. Now it's these giant art things that they just burn.
Yeah,
up.
Dan remembers when I was back in Texas at a funeral, and it was my wife's sister's son, Greg, who grew up with my daughters here, and was the same age as the twins, and went all kinds of places with us. So he was really a close family member, and he passed away, and we went back there, but. Greg had been to Burning Man a couple of times and told me some stories and the big float they built, and he just absolutely had a fantastic time there.
There's a lot of shrooms and stuff going on there.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
Lightning in the Bottle is more about ecstasy. You're sensitive. That's one of the big. Ecstasy is kind of the drug that they do now versus acid.
Right. Hey, I noticed Rachel's in the chat.
Rachel.
And, I just wanted to say, Rachel, I've got a link here. I got a link here if you'd like to join us and talk about some psychedelic rock and psychedelic times and all that good stuff. I'm going to put this link in here right now.
Gloria, Julia, they're all here. Full house.
Yeah.
Woo! Here, I brought cocktails for everyone. Take one.
Okay, the link is up. The link is up, Rachel, if you'd like to jump on and talk to us or Zep Pearl. Zep Pearl wants to jump on and talk about some of this psychedelic rock stuff. We'd be happy to have you
today.
So anyway, we've talked about the origins of it. We've talked about how it was basically fueled and inspired by psychedelic drug use, and I remember those days very, very well, and there was a lot of that stuff going around when I was a teenager, believe me, and I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, I kind of experimented with everything that was going around, and I didn't make a lifestyle out of it, like some of my friends, but I did it for a couple of years, and then got a job and got married and started having kids, and I thought it all went away. Nobody was getting high anymore, but yes, they were. It's kind of funny how when you get out of something, you think everybody's out of it now, but no, it came back bigger and stronger than ever. Hey, here we go. Hi, Rachel.
Hey, bueno, people, rock and rollers.
Hey.
Hi, Lou and Dan.
What's everybody up, Rachel?
Hey, Rachel.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's so nice to see everybody.
I've been away. Sorry.
Yeah. I figured, Rachel, you've got to have some good psychedelic stories,
Oh, yeah. Do you know the thing is, though, is that it's really funny with me because I was born in 1958. So come 1971, I'm 13 years old, right? And so it's about, I think it's about 1970, 69. So I'm about 11 to 12, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And the school took all the elementary kids. I think it was in grade 6. Okay. And they showed us these anti-hallucinogenic films.
Oh, yeah.
And this one guy takes these pills. It's on YouTube because I looked it up. It says it's got to be around. And it is. And the guy takes some pills and he looks at himself in the mirror and he turns into a monster.
That was a joint. He smoked a joint. I remember that, Flip.
I remember that too. They showed all that stuff. They showed all that stuff to us in health class. And I'll tell you what was funny was
he smokes weed. Did you see
our teacher in health class wanted us to all know what weed smelled like.
Yeah.
So we'd know if we smelled it someplace. So they had, I won't say his name. He was a couple of years older than me.
That's awesome.
And one of the biggest potheads in town. They had him up there with the strainer, and he was standing, and we'd all one by one walk by and smell it. And in between, you'd see Leo bring it over close to his nose and
did get a little high off it, yeah.
And hand it back.
But Rachel, didn't he look in the mirror, turn into a wolf, and then he runs and he jumps out the window?
I don't know if he killed him.
He wants to fly. They don't show that.
It just scared me straight. I'm telling you. But I did do marijuana. Marijuana was just a kick. And I also, and hashish. Those were my two things. I did some hot knife one night, and that just messed me up.
Well, that's interesting. That had that effect on you, because it seriously had the complete opposite effect on me.
So when you said I'm all in.
I want to see. I want to turn into a werewolf. So I was all like, "How do you do that, man? Where do you get this stuff?"
No, that's scary. Because it was so sudden. Because he's a normal kid kind of thing.
I want to give a quick shout out. Here.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm going to give a quick shout out. Rachel's Ghost just joined us. Rachel's got a fantastic show. Rachel, if I'm not mistaken, you're going 7 days a week, aren't you?
I do it. Yeah. 6 o'clock in the morning Pacific. I'm on the West Coast of Canada, but I'm the same time zone as California, Washington State, Oregon, and Arizona. I
just want everybody to know Rachel has a fantastic podcast. And she's got a lot of people attending it. It's a great show. She's very, very knowledgeable. And I highly recommend that everybody subscribe to Rachel's Ghost. She's got a great, great channel.
Wow. And, well, you're very kind. Look, Dan, you're freaking me out, man.
You're tripping. You're just tripping. That's it. You're just tripping.
Okay, I gotta give out some more. DJ H Record Hound. Everybody, please give his show a watch.
Hold on. Now, hold on. I got to find him. Where's the Record Hound?
You got to go up a ways. DJ H Record Hound.
Oh, hold on. Is that Darren? Yeah, it's Darren. I know Darren. I'm already subscribed to Darren.
Okay.
That's just Darren.
Then we've got my buddy Eddie. And Eddie's got a great show. I've been going on Eddie's show a lot. And
Eddie's fantastic.
Eddie's Physical media. Yeah, he's a really good guy, and he basically plays music through his whole show. He plays album after album, and he plays great songs.
He's got a massive record collection.
I'm getting introduced to a lot of new stuff, just like at Mr. Bizarro's channel. A lot of new stuff that I don't typically listen to, and I like every bit of it. And these guys are playing it. And Zep Pearl. Zep Pearl's got a great show. I watch Zep Pearl whenever I get a chance, and I highly recommend everybody subscribe to Zep Pearl. You know, give all these people. Caitlin Stoddard, our own Caitlin Stoddard. She's family here. Caitlin's Corner. She goes live twice a week. Man, of course, our co-hosts, Lou Mars and Dan McNew, they've got great stuff going on. Plastic Soundwave Cult. I'm giving Plastic Soundwave Cult a shout out too. And
that's Eric. He's great. Caitlin, yeah, I had a mistake. I wasn't subscribed to Caitlin. I fixed it. I'm subscribed now. Okay, sorry, good, Caitlin. Good. I'm late. Better late than never.
Okay, yeah. And Plastic Soundwave Cult's got a good show too. Go ahead.
Yeah, Caitlin's got to be the #1 Monkee fan ever.
I know.
She loves the Monkees.
I was teasing her. I told her that Alison Krauss had gotten rid of Robert Plant. She's replacing him with Mickey Dolenz.
Holy smoke! I got about 5 Monkees albums in my own collection. I got their debut, but Headquarters. That's
okay.
That's the trippy one. That's the Monkees going psych.
That was before the psychedelic
who didn't love
era.
Who did not love the Monkees, right? I mean, totally a made-for-television band, talented guys. They sang well, and they wrote some good songs. And the Last Train to Clarksville, we were talking about that last night, Dan. And that's an interesting song. It's actually kind of a Vietnam War type song, because Clarksville, Tennessee was where the military base was, and this guy had to get there. He was drafted. Last train.
I didn't even know. See, I've never known that until just now, Royce. You just taught me that right now.
And it was probably because their stance on it, their little protest in that song, Last Train to Clarksville, that the FBI started bugging them. Started spying on the Monkees.
Yeah, I have no idea about this story. This is great stuff.
Well, if anybody didn't like the Monkees, it was probably the Beatles, because they stole everything they had from them.
Well, no, actually, the Beatles liked the Monkees. They were invited. Yeah, they were over in England, and the Beatles invited the Monkees over to Abbey Road and partied with them. And
you're just making us bigger because
and Mickey Dolenz.
Our sound.
Is it Mickey Dolenz? Because I saw Mickey Dolenz 2 months ago. And he was talking about when he went to England and was partying with the Beatles, and he tried to act all cool about it, but he goes, "It's the Beatles." But he tried to act like he was all cool.
Wasn't it him and Michael Nesmith that were really the only two that could play their instruments before they got to the show?
Oh, I thought Peter Tork could.
Was it Peter Tork? I thought. Well, there's 2 of them. I thought it was Nesmith, which is why Nesmith went solo afterwards.
Well, which one is it that recently died?
That was Mike.
His mother
Nesmith.
invented something. His mother, he was talented. His mother had invented something. I can't remember what it was. So
liquid paper.
The whiteout for the
liquid
typewriter.
Liquid paper. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, I thought Davy Jones
Nesmith is right. You're absolutely right, Lou, because Nesmith had a hit with her name was Joanne, and she lived in a meadow mighty.
Yeah, he had a few.
And then he also did a different drum for Stone Ponies with Linda Ronstadt. Stone Ponies. That's a Nesmith song.
He did something later than that too. It was pretty cool. I remember he came out of nowhere and just did a hit. It was great.
Yeah. Well, he did have that one album that was pretty popular called Elephant Parts.
Elephant Parts.
I remember that.
Great. Yeah, that's like a movie. I had it on VHS back in the early 80s.
Talk about tripping.
And Neil Diamond was doing the writing for those boys at the beginning, right?
One of the guys he wrote "I'm a Believer" was a Neil Diamond song.
I thought there was one more.
One of my favorite old psychedelic songs, one of the very, very early first ones, was Kenny Rogers. Just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was a big song too. It was I can't remember the name of the band he was in. Obviously,
First Edition. Kenny Rogers.
The First Edition. That's right. Yeah. But that was a cool song.
I
thought I might throw the names of some of the psychedelic bands out, and we can have some comment on them.
Ooh, I got some current ones.
The person. Lou's always got the current stuff going on. He doesn't want us to forget that there are still bands out there making good music, new bands. This of course, the Grateful Dead goes without saying. That's like psychedelia plus. You know, they were the ones at the airport going to the Woodstock festival that offered Carlos Santana and his whole band some acid, and Carlos said, "No, Jerry, I thank you, but we don't know when we're going on. We don't want to drop acid right now." And Jerry Garcia goes, "Oh no, you guys are after us, and we're not going on for hours. You'll be fine." So they get there, and they're all messed up on LSD, Santana's whole band, and somebody walks in and says, "Santana, you're up." And they're like, "What? We weren't supposed to go on for hours." And they go, "Oh no, the traffic is so snarled, people can't get in, people have been delayed. You're up." And they had to go up and play like that. Anyway, I love that story. I don't know how many times I've told it. But
well, once they made
the band I wanted to bring up is. Go ahead. No, I'm good.
You must be on a delay.
Yeah, he is delayed slightly.
Yeah.
Wow. Am I delayed a little bit?
Yeah,
a little bit.
A little bit.
You know what my students are doing lately on Zoom when I teach them is they fake freeze. It's hilarious. All of a sudden they'll go.
Yeah.
And you'll go, "Are you okay?" They do it just to mess with you. I love it. They're hilarious. What are you going to say, Dad?
Angela in the chat also said first edition for the Kenny Rogers song, too. Thank you, Angela. Hey, we got another podcaster, Dave, the Pickup Artist. I highly recommend people go check out.
Well, that delay is killing me.
Pickup Artist show and subscribe when you're there.
Okay, Dad, go.
Yeah, okay,
go.
I'm talking.
Go.
The thing that brought the psychedelic era not totally to an end, but really brought it down quite a bit was when they finally did make LSD illegal. And that kind of, that's why it was such a short span. What was it, 4 or 5 years that it was really popular, but then it kind of died off. And if you look at the usage of LSD, I did a little research on that as well. The usage of LSD, people still used it during the 70s, but in the 80s it dropped off. Hardly anybody was doing acid in the 80s.
Yeah.
In the 90s, it picked back up again. And I'm not sure what it is in the 2000s, but
I think I heard about that. I had kids in high school in the 90s, and my oldest daughter came home and said to my wife, and I was really grateful my daughter thought this way. She said, "Mom, all the other cheerleaders," she was a cheerleader in high school, "took acid last week, and they want me to do it with them this week. I wasn't there." She says, "Help me think of an excuse why I can't go." And so she didn't go do it. But anyway, I was kind of proud of her for that.
Well, one of the things that people realize too, after long usage of acid, for several years, people would take it so they could escape reality, and go in this fantasy world in their mind. Right. Well, they realized after a long time usage of that, pretty soon people were having a hard time trying to figure out what is real and what is fake. They couldn't separate reality, from the drug.
Right.
And so I think it's one of the reasons why, I would never do it for a long period. I mean, everybody.
No, I would never do it for a long period. I love that delay on that.
No more than 10 or 12 times.
Hey, I once took 4-way window pane. I took all 4 of them. I did. No shit. I was like, I took the first one. I'm like, nothing's happening. And I took the second. That stuff delays. You didn't know. And people, this is a long time ago, not yesterday.
Right.
So, but tripping it. A lot of religions used acid back then to connect with God or their God. So it was a different time, and we were experimenting with what
like
it is.
peyote and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The Indians. I
had one of my friend's older brothers ran into another guy that I know. We're actually friends on Facebook still today. He lives in Texas now, a couple of years older than me. And hey, Torrance, man, what do you got I can get high on? And Torrance goes, "I don't have nothing, man." He goes, "But I know where there's some peyote buttons growing out in the desert, southern Nevada
too."
And he told him where they were, and he drove out there, and he didn't follow the instructions, and he took too much. And so the next thing I know, this guy I knew, who was my friend's older brother, was down at the police station because this guy had lost his mind in the hospital, kept screaming, the name of the guy that told him where to go get it.
Well, that's the problem. Go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say, I remember, back in, I guess in 2001, my wife and I were on vacation, went down to San Antonio. And of course, I had long hair back then too. And here I am standing in front of the Alamo with my wife, and, enjoying Texas history. This Mexican dude walks up to me. Hey, you want to buy some acid? I go, dude, how do you know I'm not an undercover cop? I mean, so brazen. I'm in front of the Alamo, and he's trying to sell me some acid in front of the Alamo. Man, that dude's not lucky I wasn't an undercover cop or something.
You might have been high. You do stupid shit when you're high. That's why you don't get high.
Needless to say, I turned him down.
I wouldn't have.
That sounds like the Taco Bell at Laguna Beach back in the day. Anyway, I got one more time. Malaya's in the chat. We became friends yesterday. We subscribed to one another's channels, and I appreciate seeing you here. And check out Malaya, MALEAJRNY, Malaya. Anyway, Malaya's here, and we really appreciate having you here, Malaya. Thank you.
One of the things I always like, when I do research on a certain era, I'm more of a technical guy, so I like looking at the technical aspect of things. And during the psychedelic era, that's when they came out with these light shows, with projection screens behind the bands,
with the oil, like you've got, similar to what I've got. But Grateful Dead were one of the first ones to do that, and they did it themselves, where they had a projection lens and put oil on it and projected up, and it got that ooey gooey look. But there's actually a technique to make that now. And there's still a big demand for it. I was really surprised how big a demand there is for this. There was a guy that has been doing it since 1966 up until his death, 2018. Okay. This guy was an expert at psychedelic shows like that. Right. And I actually went through expert at psychedelic.
And on YouTube, on YouTube, I actually went through one of his classes on how you create this. And it's really cool. It's very simple. All you need is mineral oil, water, and some dye. And some concave dishes, clear glass, so you have different layers. You just pour that stuff in it, put the dye, and just kind of wiggle it around. And nowadays, before they used to do it live. Now what they do it in a studio, and they just record it, and they make videos out of it.
Well, I had a friend that was giving me guitar lessons. Well, we became friends because he was giving me guitar lessons. But anyway, he was he was a great musician, guitar player. And his wife would show up at their concerts, and she would do that little dish thing and project it up on the screen. And I hadn't seen that in years, and she used to do that at every show. It used to crack me up. But I mentioned his name before. It was John Bankston, also known as Johnny Pozo, because he played out at the Pozo Saloon a lot. Anyway, I've been looking for him. I haven't been able to find him.
They've got little devices now that I don't know if you guys have seen these, but they plug into a USB. And they're like the size of a quarter, and you plug that bad boy in a USB, and they shoot lasers out, and it will cover, like if you shoot them at trees, it'll make the entire trees look like dots or patterns. And they're able to go to the music, and the thing's like this big for $15. It's amazing what they're doing now with lighting. It's amazing. Again, I think inspired from, I agree with Dan. I think a lot of the effects of that period, because of drugs, or we talked about lasers when we were high on acid. You get tracers with your hands. Oh yeah. And again, folks, don't do drugs. We're telling you what happened. We don't do it today. Don't be like us. No. Anyways, so the bottom line is, that had something to do with it. But I want to say something about John Lennon. I read about him in the book, The Love You Make. They talked about that he had a jar over his mantelpiece in the fireplace in the room where he had the grand white piano. He would go there and take a little sweep at it like a powder mix, and then he'd rub it on his gums many days, and then would write. So I bring that up because part of the psychedelic era was expanding your mind in the arts. That was the reasoning, at least, or the thought process back then. It wasn't to get just high. It was a matter of, hey, I want to expand my mind. That's why they said check out, check in, know.
Right.
So it wasn't.
I want to throw out a few more psychedelic bands and then some psychedelic songs, but I can't leave I can't leave John Lennon right now. Okay, John Lennon and Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
What a great segue.
Three nouns in the title. The first letter of the three nouns in the title are LSD, And John Lennon went to his grave swearing that song was not inspired by drugs. It was inspired by his son Julian, who drew a picture of his classmate, and her name was Lucy, and she was up in the sky with stars all around her, and there was a title written across it that said "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds." And he swears that was at least the inspiration. Maybe it was the inspiration, but I'm telling you right now.
Yeah. I call bullshit. Come on.
Yeah.
Listen,
I know.
picture yourself on a boat on a marvelous sky. Oh, come on.
Right.
Come on. Right. John was under a lot of pressure already. He was getting hit at the airport. They were knocking him for weed. They were getting him on his government shit. I bet at that point he was just like,
well, you know, and
yes, it's about LSD.
All
he would have been doomed.
At the time were getting high and they were taking psychedelics and stuff, you know. So
it was obvious. He didn't need to say that.
To me, it was off. Me and my wife argued about this the other day.
It's LSD.
I said it was obvious, and she says, "Well, why did John Lennon say no?" And I said, "Well, maybe he didn't want to feel responsible for." You know,
you got to choose your battles, man. You got to choose your battles. You know, he was against the war. He's like, I'm going to let the LSD one go for now. You know, He was the same guy who said on Dick Cavett when they said, hey, Dick was like, what's that song about? And he's all like, what do you want it to be about? You know, that was John Lennon. And he was all about you figure out what the song's about. He would never say what his songs were about. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's LSD. All right, next.
Guilty. Yeah, we're gonna show something here. Does being on acid give you a different viewpoint of life and life as we know it? Does it give you a new understanding of life?
I think it gives you the feeling
someone's being deep.
that you can solve. It gives you the feeling that you can solve issues and all that. But once you go back to reality, you realize, wow, I must have been high.
Yeah.
The problem with acid was coming down.
It can also give you some confusion.
Well, there's the bad trip. And so here's the thing. There's the bad trip and there's coming down. Worst thing about acid, folks, it takes forever to come down. It's not that you're pissed off that you're coming down. You feel like shit the whole down as you're coming down, and it takes forever. The sun's coming up. You're like, I'm done, but you're not done. You got to wait. Now, there's the bad trip.
You're not done.
No, you're not done till it's done. Yeah, you don't get to say I'm done.
You're done when it says you're done.
Right. You don't get to pass out like booze or something, man. You're in for the duration. You better have time and lock your doors. Here's the other thing. Bad trip. If you've got bad juju going on in your head, do not do that drug because it's going to expand on what's in your mind. That's when the Beatles talk about the blue meanies. That's the blue meanies.
Right.
You don't want to go there. They're right.
I've got a story from back when I was in the military. Now, when I was in the military, this is back in the early to mid 70s, so it was pretty prevalent back then. And they didn't drug test you back in the military back in those days. They had just stopped. They just stopped the draft, and they just needed bodies in the military, so they would take anybody.
They need people to die.
And I went to a concert one night. First, we went to the beach to score something. Took it about 5 hours before the concert. Get to the concert, still, and I'm not feeling anything. I'm going, man, we got ripped off. We got ripped off.
I hate it when that happens.
So, took four. I took 4 hits. And right before the concert started, it hit. Oh my God, it was the worst thing ever. I couldn't understand a word anybody was saying. The things looked like they were a million miles away. And I told my guys, man, I said, it was at an Alice Cooper concert, believe it or not. And so I had to leave. I had to leave. I had to leave. I said, guys, I want
to give another shout out to a great guy, as Randy. He's got a show, Dead Wax 66. Randy's in the show tonight. And I really appreciate Randy. I was on Mr. Bizarro's show for a little bit last night. And, I was chatting with all the guys and having fun in the chat. But Randy's a great guy. He plays some great music. He's very knowledgeable. So it's Dead Wax 66. Everybody go to his channel, subscribe to Dead Wax 66. You won't be disappointed. And hit the notification bell so you'll know when he's coming back on. Okay, let's go. Let me read a couple more of these bands. Okay, the band that was credited with coining the phrase psychedelic rock and psychedelic music was the 13th Floor Elevators. I think they were out of Texas.
Wow.
Austin.
Dan probably knows them personally. Okay,
I did not know that.
Another great psychedelic band, The Doors. Light My Fire and Light My Fire, The End, Break On Through. They had
that's what that was about. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, exactly. Blue Cheer was a psychedelic band. The Byrds were a big psychedelic band. I recently bought a Byrds album. I hadn't seen much from them in a long time. I came across an album, and Betty said, "Let's get the Byrds," and I bought it, and we both really enjoyed it. There's some funny names: Pink Fairies, Count Five, Country Joe and the Fish. Great band from. Well, heard them for the first time at Woodstock, and then they became pretty popular after Woodstock, like so many other bands. Okay, a band I absolutely loved in the mid '60s, late '60s, Iron Butterfly.
Oh man, I remember those.
They got it to Vita, oh man, you talk about a psychedelic sound. They really owned it at the time. And I was pretty young too, and I just loved. I've got 2 albums. I got 3 or 4 of their albums, right? I got 2 that have the yellow cover that say Ball on them. And I've got the one that's got the 10 or 17 minute Inagata Vita song, and then another one. I really like that band. Procol Harum. You guys remember Procol Harum? Yeah.
That song, by the way, what was that song where he rolls across the floor? Is it wider shade of pale? that was John Lennon. Speaking I'm on a John Lennon kick all of a sudden. John Lennon's favorite song that wasn't his own was that tune, according to that same book, and he had that album, and to this day, it's still in the back of the limousine on the turntable in the museum. It was that specific song he would play over and over again. And any of you who played on stage as much as I have, and God, who knows how many times John did, you understand that song, man. It's all about leaving it all on stage. It's a great tune.
Zep Pearl just mentioned the Amboy Dukes. That's with Ted Nugent.
Yeah.
That's some pretty cool songs, yeah.
Yeah, Journey to the Center of My Mind or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Journey to the Center of My Mind. I love it.
If I'm going to put a sound effect that represents psychedelic probably more than any other effect, in my opinion, you guys can jump in the chat or here on the board. It's got to be, to me, the wah-wah pedal. That wow.
That was definitely all part of the psychedelic music, was all this new effect, including the wah-wah pedal. Yeah.
God, you heard that and you were wasted and it messed with your head and they would pan left, pan right. And that's another thing. Quadraphonic sound had a lot to do with it. This was a new thing back then, folks. You had 4 speakers. We put speakers as many as we could. I had 8 in my car. And the sound would go all the way around, or you'd have like just the kick back here. The other vocalist is there, another vocalist there. The Beatles cut onto this shit, and they pan the hell out of their tunes. Matter of fact, if you don't have good headphones, you miss half the Beatles songs today.
The only bad thing about quadraphonic, I had a quadraphonic system, and Pioneer QX949A. I still remember that thing.
And that didn't mean something, did it?
But it would only be quadraphonic if your source was quadraphonic, which means your LP had to be a quadraphonic album. And I think I own one. I own Aerosmith. Was it Dream On or no? Get Your Wings. Get Your Wings is the only quadraphonic one I ever owned.
Have to do that when you think about it.
Quadraphonic. Yeah, I might have had a quadraphonic little stereo too. That was kind of popular for a little while. But anyway,
let's talk about the fashion though too. The fashion of psychedelic, the super bells that came out of that, the colors, the clothing. So current band, like in the 90s, and later on, there was De La Soul, there was the Spin Doctors, even Lenny Kravitz, all had a psychedelic kind of a thing going on with their fashion alone. Lenny had the big fro at the beginning. Then he went to dreads, and he had the super bells. And he had that with that guitar. That is part of the signature, folks. If you're not aware of psychedelic, that sound and the visuals, not just drugs, is what I'm trying to say.
No.
We started with the drug crap, but it isn't. It's more. It's much bigger than that. It's a whole thing.
Drug crap. You're right.
You started with the drug crap. That's okay. We had to get that out of the way. But now let's talk about the rest of it. There's a visual, the clothing, the stage, the effects that Dan brought up, the lighting. And then there's the music.
Yep.
The music had the sound. There's a specific sound that made it psychedelic. And that was all went along with the whole experience. That's all. I want to get that in.
Black light posters, man. My parents hated my black light poster.
Black light. Holy shit. I remember those.
I had a Jimi Hendrix blacklight poster, then a Lord's Last Supper blacklight.
I had the Disneyland.
The Lord's Last Supper. They all had hoses off a big pipe, and they were all.
Well, that's it. I had a custom one painted in my room. It was huge, of all the Disney characters on a hookah, and then I had all the sexual positions of the Zodiac and Big Glow in the Dark.
I kind of wonder if Stevie Ray Vaughan was inspired by psychedelic rock, because he used the wah-wah pedal like crazy.
Well, he was inspired by Hendrix. I mean, come on. So
that's true. Yeah.
Was the
he copied. He played a lot of Hendrix stuff.
He was
he did a very good job playing it.
Yeah. He did Little Wing that Hendrix used to do.
Yeah. Hendrix wrote that song. Yeah.
Even Dimebag Darrell used to do Little Wing.
A very popular song. It was a
great
song.
tune. Love that song.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't forget Jefferson Airplane, the Starship, great slick up front there.
Oh, yeah.
With White Rabbit. What a song. It really kind of brought you boom, dum, dum, boom. That was the whole.
Yeah, that was a great song.
They captured the whole thing in a song.
Yeah, they did.
One pill makes you grow. I mean, it's all about that scene. If you were to take one song and say, what song represents the psychedelic scene, I would pick that one. I think it's perfectly written song and Grace.
Yeah, The Lovers. Harry, that's it was called The Lovers.
What's that?
You can Google The Lovers and you'll find that blacklight.
Oh,
I got a comp here for you, Royce. This is called I Think I'm Going Weird. And it's called 66 to 68 Original Artifacts from the British Psychedelic.
Oh, there it is. Look at that.
No kidding.
So it's a 5 CD thing with what was happening in the UK.
Oh, nice. That's
and
fantastic.
it's got bios, and some of these bands will be known to you, like Traffic's in here.
Oh yeah, Traffic.
And the Pink Floyd is in here. But there's a bunch that a lot of us have never heard about. Soft Machines in here. So people would have heard of that. But some never even really got into the radio stations. They're like single. They did a 45. It never went anywhere. But this is available on Amazon, kids. So if you like your psych, this is called I Think I'm Going Weird, and artifacts from the. I think
I'm going weird. Yeah, no, that would be cool.
Original artifacts.
I actually
British psych scene.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, trippy.
That music for some reason really connected with me at an early age before I even knew anything about drugs or anything.
Well, the bubblegum, right? Like Green Tambourine. A lot of the bubblegum songs, like 1910 Fruit Gum Company and Yummy, 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 I Got Love in My Tummy. All that was kind of an expansion out of the psych thing, yeah.
Well, that's a good point that Royce just made, though. Royce, you said that the music connected with you before the drugs. And I think it's really important because a good song is a good song is a good song. I always say that.
Exactly.
None of that shit catches on if the songs suck. Who wants to do drugs to bad music? All right, there you go. It doesn't enhance and make a song. It doesn't make a song better.
No.
It takes a good song and connects you maybe to it a little bit better, and that's an opinion for certain things. So that's what it was about.
That almost sounds like a lyric from the Beatles. Take a sad song and make it better.
All right, I'm going down the stairs now.
Yeah,
into the basement
Darren was mentioning the Collectors turning into Chilliwack. I've got the Collectors album with Lydia Purple on it. Lydia Purple's fantastic. What a great trippy song that is.
So that was another argument about a song. Purple, what was that? Purple Sage through what was that tune?
Purple Haze?
Purple Haze?
Not Purple. The Purple Haze was about acid, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me while I kiss the sky.
I mean, the title of the song is about a type of acid or a color of it anyway.
And it was a Purple Blue Persuasion, I think was the other one. Isn't
Okay.
I couldn't spit it out. I'm sorry. And Rachel, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What were you saying?
No, you didn't. It's perfect. And that's Tommy James and the Shondells.
And the Shondells. Okay.
Right on,
Rachel mentioned
it's Crystal Blue Persuasion.
Rachel mentioned Traffic earlier. I remember hearing a story about Steve Winwood from Traffic. He was late he was late for a show one night. They said he would have been there earlier, but he was caught in traffic.
Is that how they got the name? Dan, are you high?
Hey, Stevie Winwood, child prodigy, playing in a band at 8 years old. And they used to sneak him into the bars to play. He's great.
I played in the bars at 17, 16. I didn't have to sneak
Hey, Royce,
in. They
if you're in the
me.
mood for your shout outs, we got another great channel here. This is a new channel. His name's Chance, and his channel is called Concert Buddy, and he is a super nice guy. And
okay, Chance.
I just watched his
latest
upload.
What is this? What is his channel called again?
He's called the Concert Buddy. There he is at the bottom.
There he is.
Yeah, no,
hey,
I just saw him. I just said hi to him. Yeah. Okay.
Music.
So, hey, everybody.
Saw Julia earlier. Kate's
We've
there.
got Concert Buddy, Chance with Concert Buddy, and I'm going to be going to his show and checking him out. And Rachel knows him very well. He's highly recommended by Rachel. And anybody that's highly recommended by Rachel is a friend of mine. Let me tell you that.
Well, thank you, Royce. Yeah, no, Chance is fantastic. He's so enthusiastic. He does fun videos. You know, he throws clips and different things in, so it keeps it going all the time. You know.
Right on.
I like Dan's backdrop. It keeps you freaking me out.
Oh, I know. It's
changing it. Yeah. But yeah, with the whole culture, I mean,
all I got my background is dog beds, you know.
Mine's part of a drum kit hanging out behind me. So hey.
That'll work. Drum kits work. But you know, there was
I'm in a band room right now.
There was psych-oriented or psych-influenced films. So, I think of What's New Pussycat, Casino Royale. Those are trippy little drug-fueled mid-60s. You know, they're meant for hallucinogenics because it's so trippy. You got Orson Welles in there, and Woody Allen and Peter Sellers and all those things. And if you look on the covers, I've got, you know, the movies on DVD. If you look on the covers, they're all done with that psychedelia kind of coloring, orange and yellows and greens, and it's all trippy. It was meant for that. And when you watch it, if you're high, it makes more sense than if you're watching it clean.
There's a TV show that we used to go back and watch.
Ways.
late 70s, early 80s, we would take mushrooms and watch HR Puffin stuff.
Oh yeah, that was
everything freaking moved. The houses had cigars, you know. We'd be like, "Witchy poo," you know. It was just fun shit. We're laughing our asses off, you know.
Yeah, that was super popular when I was a kid. I was the right age for the Jack Wild who played the Artful Dodger. You know, he's a little kitty with the
flute there. Freddie, and when you were tripping balls, man, it was just like, holy crap, this is weird.
You know, speaking of the Monkees earlier, didn't the Monkees put out that movie Head that was kind of psychedelic?
Yeah.
You know, I try to watch it before. I can't get through the whole movie. I just can't get through it. But you know, I think that was, I don't know if they were tripping when they made it or there was
a drug film. It's absolutely is. It's all part of that scene. Absolutely.
Jack Nicholson was in that too.
Yeah, he is.
They eventually became what they were acting. And that's what happens when you do something long enough.
Right.
Yeah.
They were interesting because, you know, the Monkees were like a kiddies TV show thing. I got all excited because I saw the Flying Monkeys, the little clip where they have their super monkeys. I'm like 8 years old. I guess the show started in 1966. So I'm 8 years old when the Monkees debut. And so they all announced it, you know, for a week in advance. The Monkees coming this Thursday or whatever it is on NBC. And then I saw the clip of them being super monkeys. So I said, I got to watch the Monkees. The Monkees are coming. The Monkees. Got to watch the Monkees. And so, but then the first 2 seasons were kind of, you know, the usual, the slapstick stuff. But the 3rd season, they did a concert thing. And it was so over my head because I was still a kid, like 9 years old. And I liked the funny acting scene. I didn't like the rock and roll concert thing that they were doing with the lights and the fire. It was too adult for me. I was a kid. Yeah. You know?
That's why when I was growing up, the Monkees were actually my Beatles because I was a little too young to appreciate the Beatles. So I was in that age group. I was just a little too young. But as I got older, you know, of course, I loved the Beatles.
Well, what year do you debut?
I was born in 57.
Oh, okay. So you got a year on me. So you and I are
debut.
Forward there. Yeah.
That's a great way of putting it. Do you think, though, because eventually it went mainstream? I mean, even the Partridge Family had a psychedelic bus at one point. Do you remember that? So do you wonder, was the dark side of psychedelic that it promoted drugs, unfortunately? Because let's face it, drugs as a whole are not good. It creates a lot of bad things. And a lot of people, we've lost them because of drugs.
A lot of people.
Our major musicians. They still are. They died because of drugs.
Right.
did the psychedelic period, did we pay a price for it? Did we lose Jimmy and Janice because of the psychedelic period? There's a big question.
I think it may have been part of it.
Yeah, well,
yeah, I think so
you
too.
know, Lou, I just want to say that I have 3 friends that all lost their, older teenage sons within months of each other in our small little town here of Atascadero. 3 of them.
Sorry about that, Royce.
Yeah, no, it was crazy, man.
Well,
throw out a couple more, huh? No,
I was just going to add that the same
psychedelic.
thing happened in the late 80s, early 90s. The same thing happened when the new music came out. The drugs came back up again, and we lost the guitarist from the Chili Peppers. We lost Kurt in the early 90s.
Right.
It kind of happened over again, and we all cleaned up again.
Lane
we had half the
Staley.
band still high. So it kind of it came back, and everyone it came back with the new music. It was kind of interesting because that's what happened in the late 60s.
That's like I said earlier, that the acid use and the drug use increased during the 90s. It had been decreased in the 80s.
Yeah.
Although I would think I think the 80s are probably more cocaine than anything.
It was totally cocaine. I was touring in both decades, and they would lay down the mirror and you do a rail and go on stage. That was the 80s. The 90s, half the band was clean and the other half was not. And the half of the band that did do drugs had the power. Anyone who tours in the 90s knows that. Anyways, go ahead, Royce. You want to do a shout out?
I do want to do a shout out. Breakfast King of Loyola. You guys got to go check him out.
Breakfast King of what? I love these names.
Loyola. I think everybody needs to go to subscribe to this guy.
Just for the name alone. Just for the name.
But he's got a good show and he's a great guy. So check him out.
Like Loyola.
It's
like areola.
Yeah. It's a little bit hard to say.
But
anyway,
Dad got that.
A couple more bands I want to throw out.
I like that giggle, Dad.
We've got Moby Grape, the Velvet Underground. Hey, the Velvet Underground. That was a great band. I love that band. And then, of course, one of my all-time favorites, the Jimi Hendrix Experience. And that was pretty damn psychedelic. Purple Haze, Hey Joe, All Along the Watchtower. I mean, these were White Rabbit type songs, some of them, Great song. Vanilla Fudge. The Moody Blues, of course.
Now, I tell you what, the Moody,
the Cream.
The Moody Blues were a great band. Talk about black lights earlier.
Yes.
To get stoned, turn on the black light, and listen to Moody Blues. I mean, talk about taking your mind away.
Until he got to that poetry part, I would always be like,
I've got 8 or 9 Moody Blues albums. I haven't listened to them in a long time, but I'm going to break
those are cool.
You talk about the part like in White Night Satin where it says, breathe deep, the gallowing gloom. Watch lights fade from every room.
It was like when Elvis would be like rocking. Elvis would be rocking. Also, I love you. It's true. You go into that sound like a phone recorder message. It was terrible. I hated that. Just keep singing.
Very cool, Daddy Blog. He saw Vanilla Fudge back in the mid '60s. Carmen and Peace. I saw Carmen and Peace with Rod Stewart a decade later. Yeah,
Carmen must be a robot. How is he still around? That guy's not real.
I know.
Great.
Carmen and Peace.
What the hell, Carmen?
Carmen and Peace actually played at one of my events.
Really?
Yeah,
I met him in Tucson, Arizona way back. He's a great guy.
I think it was 2010. Rex Brown, former bass player for Pantera, had a new band called Kill Devil Hill, and Carmen was the drummer at the time.
Wow, that is very cool.
He's been with everybody great. That guy, he's one of those guys that I'm so jealous of his career tab. It's an amazing thing.
King Crimson, that was psychedelic.
Oh yeah,
and not every one of these bands played nothing but psychedelic songs. They had it mixed in. It was flavored with psychedelia.
Well, it went, like I said, when something becomes a trend or goes mainstream, a lot of times that actually destroys it. It gets so popular that it becomes kind of a joke. It's almost like everyone's just doing it to do it. When you're at the point where your hair is like everybody else, change your hairstyle. All right, that's what you should be doing. You don't want to, because you're too late. If you want to be on the edge, don't jump in after everyone's worn it out. And that's kind of what some of these bands did, in my opinion. It was already over. And then we want to make money, so we're going to do this instead of be original. I
watched that video a lot, Daddy. I tuned in a lot just because Tim Bogart's so fun to watch. because he's just conniptioning, and you got the Pete's there going nuts on the drums, so the whole band's just freaking working out. They're a lot of fun to look at.
Well, a lot of those bands, you wonder how high they were. I mean, when I saw Zepp in '77, the last show they did that weekend, Robert Plant was amazing, but Jimmy Page sucked terribly because he was so heroined out. He leaned up against the pole and went into this hour-long solo that was the only cool part was when he did the bow. But then everyone was up in Oakland Stadium, and then they all sat down, and it was like, oh. So you got to be careful because you get to a point where you overdo it, and then you think you're awesome, and then you watch the tape, and you're like, that wasn't so awesome. Yeah, so don't push it too far, guys. As far as...
Paul McCartney tells a story about being high with Mel Evans, the roadie, and he goes, hey, Mel, I've got the meaning of life. I found the meaning of life, man. And he writes it out, and he goes, now, don't do anything with this, but in the morning, I want to see this thing. It's the meaning of life. And so then he wakes up, and he's kind of rummaging around, gets the car, gets going. He goes, oh, right. I found the meaning of life, but I can't remember. I got to go see what it is. And he goes, Mel, you got that piece of paper I gave you with the meaning of life? And Evans goes, yeah, here, Paul. And he hands it to it. It's just gibberish. It's absolutely. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but it wears off.
Yeah,
That's what I was saying earlier. A lot of times, drugs are mind-expanding drugs. But is it really expanding your mind, or you just think you're expanding your mind?
That's a good point. I don't think I have an answer.
Dan, it's like the guys, when they decided that guys that were assholes were now bipolar, they put a term on it. So they give them weed, and they smoke the weed, and the asshole dude is suddenly chill, and you can deal with him, So there is a purpose for drugs. There is a purpose that you can use them in properly. But it's like if you abuse anything, if you do something too much, it's not good. Chocolate cake, you eat the damn cake every day. It's not good, folks. So there's something good, I think, in everything if it's used appropriately and properly.
That even says that, not to get too religious here, but it even says that in the Bible, gluttony. If you overdo something, it's not good. Too much chocolate cake is bad for you.
Life is about balance. It's about balance. So
that's why when I do things in life, I always do it just for a certain amount of time. I never want to overdo it. That's why I've always got projects. I'll be on a project for like 4 years. I get bored with it. I'll go to something else for about 4 years. I'll get bored. I'll go to something else. I just can't. These people that skydiving, for instance. I did skydiving for a while. The more you do skydiving, you increase your chances of never surviving it.
Sooner or later, that chute's not going to open.
So I did it. I did it a few times, survived it, and I moved on. But then you get these guys that would skydive. They skydive for 5,000 jumps. Then their 5,000 first jump, they splat. I said, move on to something else.
Those stories. I mean, I have a pilot's license. I had a little plane for a while. I flew my family over the ocean to Catalina Island and over the mountains to different places. And one time coming back from San Jose, my generator went out, so the battery discharged, and so my instrument panel went black. And we're flying over the mountains at the time. And of course, the fuel gauges went to empty. And I didn't bother to fuel up in San Jose. I had plenty of fuel. But there's something about staring at empty fuel gauges for a certain amount of time. You start questioning your judgment when you're over the mountains, and just occasionally you see a light down below.
No, so true. But the thing about checking off of what Dan said, in the 90s when I was touring, I started believing it was the drugs that made me great. Because I'd be jamming and I'd be cranking. We were playing night after night, new city. So I thought I have to have this drug in order to be good or to play or, remember John Lennon. He took these drugs. Look what it did for him. So I got hooked up into that. And that's really dangerous because I lost belief in myself. And what I later found out was it wasn't the drugs that made me great. It was me playing every day, practicing, and being inspired by other great musicians. So it's very dangerous that you can fall into believing that the drug is doing what you are actually doing. You don't need the drug to be great. So put that out there.
I do know an exception for that. Now, Dimebag Darrell with Pantera. Now, he was a drinker, big time drinker.
He played better drunk.
He played better drunk. And, he would show up to a gig sometimes and he'd just be plastered. You're going, oh, my God, this guy's going to blow it tonight. He get up there and have one of the best shows ever. And you go, oh, my God, how does he do that?
I'll join you with another exception, and that would be maybe Scott from STP. But the thing is, again, though, when he was high, he was fantastic to watch on stage. That was his way of letting loose, almost like the bipolar guy that had to smoke a joint. But the bad news was we know what happened to Scott.
Yeah.
So, that's the problem with it. He obviously got to a point where he didn't believe he could go without it either. And that's the danger zone, unfortunately.
I try to live my life by something that Clint Eastwood used to say. A man's got to know his limitations.
I love Clint Eastwood is just badass. Who else can wear a poncho and look badass in a Western? Clint Eastwood, man. I want to buy a poncho just because the way he wore it. But I'd put it on.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like
Who
I got
doesn't
a
love
tablecloth. You can't look like that dude, though. I've tried. I did the sideburns. You can't do it.
I made a video about Clint Eastwood. Betty and I went up to where he lives in Carmel, and we had he bought a 27-acre ranch. Developers are going to put condominiums on it, overlooking the ocean there, and Clint bought that and saved it. And it's got a bunch of houses and some, rentals on it and things like that, and a nice restaurant. So Betty and I went up there, had dinner at Clint's Ranch at the restaurant, and then we went into town and we stopped at the Hog's Breath Inn, owned for 27 years, the most famous destination. Of course, Clint Eastwood's the most famous person in Carmel. He was former mayor as well, but that's the most famous destination in Carmel is the Hog's Breath Inn because Clint Eastwood owned it for 27 years. So we went in there and we were kidding around, and the employees were in there, and I said, "Hey, has Clint been in?" And one of them goes, "Oh yeah, Clint was here last night." I go, "Oh really?"
He wasn't joking, or
he's the best guy in the world. And everybody in the whole bar was listening. Everybody was laughing, and it was a fun time. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Anyway.
Well, my hour is up, guys. I have got to go. I've got crazy shifts.
Okay.
I'm in a new band house. We're going to be recording and stuff. So, hey, guys, thank you so much.
Okay.
Lou, nice seeing you again.
Right on.
Take care,
yes,
Lou.
Rachel, I got your message. I was in the middle of nowhere, but I'll get back to you.
All right, love you.
All right, love you guys.
Thank you there, buddy.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so my brother Floyd Moses, aka my brother Richie, is in the chat, and I put a link up if he wants to jump in here and hang out with us.
Yeah, your brother reached out to me very kindly, invited me on his show tomorrow, so I'm going to go join him.
Awesome.
And,
he told me that happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, no, I'm happy to come on. It's a faith-based thing. So I identify as a Christian person. So we're going to talk maybe some theology.
It is. Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever you want. It's amazing because I could never understand the Bible. And then I kind of asked God to teach me how to read it. Yeah. And then I understood it.
Right. Well, who would you say, who would each of you say is the big five as far as like psychedelic bands? I think I would have to go like, Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, the top 5 psych bands.
Yeah.
Top 5 psych bands?
Yeah. Jimi Hendrix, Pink Floyd, maybe the Doors, Jefferson Airplane, and maybe I'd have to throw Grateful Dead in.
Grateful Dead, huge for it.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, Dan?
I would say the Beatles during that one section of their career.
They sure influenced everybody for those albums.
Hey, Harry, how are you, buddy?
Hi, Harry.
Good. I hope I'm welcome here.
You are welcome, Harry.
I saw the StreamYard link, so I said, why not?
Absolutely, buddy.
We're working on our top 5 psych bands. So who do you think are do you want our 5 or do you want the big 5?
No, I would just like everybody's opinion. Like what do you think the top 5 psychedelic bands are?
I would say the Beatles, then of course Hendrix.
Okay.
God, there's just so many of them. I'm trying to put them in order.
I know it's hard. I mean,
I think I could pick 5 just from San Francisco.
Yeah, well, that's where they all came from. That's where it exploded from, San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean Jefferson Airplane's got to be up there.
And Grateful Dead for sure.
I listed them and Grateful Dead. You could throw Janis Joplin in there, I guess. She was San Francisco. Santana. I don't know about Santana. They didn't seem real psychedelic to me. Don't get me wrong. I love Santana, And when the Woodstock movie came out, I think I left watching that movie being, a huge Santana fan, and they didn't even have any albums out at the time they played at Woodstock.
Oh, that made their career right there. Yeah,
made their career. Absolutely, it was huge. Okay, let's see. Angela's saying Grateful Dead, Jefferson Airplane. Yeah, agree with those. Who in the chat? Who else would you list as maybe the top psychedelic bands? I've got a list here of the top 100. Makes it a little easier. Let's see. The Cream were considered a psychedelic band.
Yeah, Disraeli Gears. Look at the cover of that thing.
Disraeli Gears. That was the first 8-track I owned, was Disraeli Gears and Creedence's Bayou Country. And I still listen to both of them today, not as 8-tracks anymore, of course. But
13th Floor Elevators from Concert Buddy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they weren't that big a band. I mean, that's the thing.
Daddy Bob, his Barry Manilow was his.
Put the pipe down.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here looking at some things here on the internet, and here's something I thought was kind of funny. Someone asked a question, what happens if you listen to psychedelic music? The answer is it causes the brain to produce feel-good endorphins, and chemicals are released that promote healing. Psychedelic music specifically came from a place of a newfound freedom and experimentation. Experimenting with sounds, lyrics, even the length of songs, all had the aim of taking the listener on a ride.
Right on. Well, you guys have heard of the Mozart effect, right? You listen to Mozart, your intelligence grows. And I was reading about this the other day, and somebody asked the question, well, after that, if I listen to heavy metal, does my intelligence, recede, go backwards? I thought that was a funny question.
Actually,
because heavy metal is actually, a lot of it is inspired by Mozart. A lot of
exactly. Well, it's also, believe it or not, psychedelic music kind of morphed over the years too into different things, different genres. Because it went from psychedelic, then it went to then they call it acid rock. For a while, it was called acid rock. Then from acid rock, it became hard rock. Then hard rock became heavy metal. So it keeps, evolving. Yeah. And I think they take a piece of the psychedelic era with them at each level.
Yeah, so psych evolves into progressive rock as well. Malaya was asking about Yes. Can Yes qualify as psychedelic? More progressive rock.
Yeah, more progressive.
Yeah, I think it's more broad.
I've left this.
Like I said, it's a thin line.
Exactly. We're going to be splitting hairs.
Randy's list here. Very impressed with that. I think I've mentioned every one of those tonight. 13th Floor Elevators basically coined the term psychedelic rock. Jefferson Airplane goes without saying. The Byrds, West Coast Pop. Okay, no, the last one I didn't say. Yeah. Anyway, good list, Randy. Thank you.
Yeah, and David Pickup Artists was saying Pink Floyd wasn't psych. I disagree with that comment. I think they were. I think the fact that they had the globular psych effect behind them while they're playing their extended. And when you're doing an album called The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, I think you're a little high when you're coming up with that one.
Yeah, that's
I got one. I got one here too. I'll ask you guys, see what you think. What about Robin Trower?
Robin Trower's he's guitar player for Procol
Harum. Oh yeah, sure, why not? If you're gonna put Hendrix in there,
right? Because like his album Bridge of Sighs. I mean, that's an album that'll take you on a ride if you just close your eyes and listen to it. Just the music, the way he does. I think he does a lot of wah wah too in his music.
No, that was all good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And he had 2 or 3 really good albums.
Yeah.
Yeah, Time in a Word and the album said their debut.
Time in a Word.
They're kind of psych albums too, sure.
I know a lot of this stuff's been mentioned already, but I'm just going to throw out some of the some songs here. Like the Beatles, A Day in the Life, and of course Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds and Strawberry Fields Forever.
Yeah, trippy.
I know there was a back in the day in the 60s there was a amphetamine pill that you got as a diet pill from the doctor, and they were referred to as strawberries. So when that song
Yeah, well,
came
Lucy in the Sky
out,
with
everybody
Diamonds.
assumed
I mean,
they
look
were
at
talking
Lennon's
about
vocal on that.
those
How
things.
slow and how stoned his vocal is. Bitches.
Well, I mean, Tomorrow Never Knows is
yeah. So he's having some sort
turn
of
off your mind, relax, and
Right.
float downstream.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Lemon
Of course,
Pipers
Purple
for sure.
Haze. And,
My green
Yeah.
tambourine.
Oh, I've got that 45.
Now listen
How
while I
about-
play.
how about- how about Donovan's Hurdy Gurdy Man?
Yeah, that is a trip. I
Or
love
Mellow
that.
Yellow. You know, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's pop. That's pop
Exactly.
spike, right?
Yeah.
Sunshine
That was a great song,
Superman, which sounds like a type of grass itself. Got any Sunshine Superman?
Of course, we've already talked about White Rabbit, Strawberry Fields Forever, the Beatles, San Francisco Nights, Eric Burden.
Yeah, I love that too.
I love.
Good God,
Actually, the Guess Who? The Guess Who have a song called "Friends of Mine" that's totally psychedelic.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Guess Who.
Ken,
That's a great band. I saw them twice in concert as a teenager as a Las Vegas Convention Center when American Woman was their big hit at the time. But I like that band.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff, it's pretty trippy. It's like Pink Floyd. You can call them art rock too, Dave. Art rock, progressive. They've been described as a bunch of stuff. They aren't quite as proggy in the sense that Yes or King Crimson or those. But I get what you're saying.
I read somewhere. I read somewhere about the Beatles and the song "Penny Lane." The lyrics not so much psychedelic, but the music inside. They're talking about like the piccolo trumpets.
Right.
What's a piccolo trumpet? Is there really such a thing, or is that something they just made up for the song?
No, it existed. Paul McCartney went to George Martin. He says, he was listening to George Martin do a thing, and he goes, "What's that? What's that instrument doing that sound there? I like that." And then he goes, "It's the piccolo French horn or piccolo trumpet."
Okay.
Yeah.
He goes, "I like that. I want that. Like I can use that." And so he went to George Martin to get the background on the instrument.
Okay.
Right. Big Brother and the Holding Company had "A Piece of My Heart." Sky Pilot by Eric Burden and the Animals. I love that song, Sky Pilot by Eric Burden.
That was a good
In
era.
fact, I have a whole playlist on my iTunes of war.
That is a real anti-war song. That Sky Pilot, boy, is that a biting. That is
It
critical.
really is. I mean, it really tugs at you, Summertime Blues, Blue Cheer.
Yeah.
Oh,
People are strange. People are strange. The Doors.
Oh,
Yeah.
Blues Magoos.
Yeah, 8 Miles High, the Birds.
I love
pretty
that.
high, 8
That's
Miles
probably
High.
my favorite. So You Want to Be a Rock and Roll Star and 8 Mile Star, two of my favorite Birds tunes.
Eric Burden and the Animals again, Monterey. That's on the list here. Love Me 2 Times, the Doors. I love that song. I used to try to play that on the guitar. I got to start trying again. Anyway, so what do you guys think? I mean, Eric Burden had a whole bunch of great songs that are considered psychedelic songs. And you know what? I tell you, one of the highlights of going to concerts for me, I was on the Laughlin River Run, where every year, 10 years in a row, rode my Harley Davidson back to Laughlin, Nevada. And there was always bands playing, and the parking lots were full of bikes and all kinds of crazy stuff. And it was a lot of fun. But me and my wife were walking down the sidewalk, and I picked up this little newsstand thing that told about everything that was going on in Laughlin that week. And I'm standing there, and I look, Eric Burden and the Animals, and I look up, and they're playing right across the street from where I'm standing. I bought 2 tickets for $35 a piece, tiny venue, and I got to stand there. And well, when he did House of the Rising Sun, everybody was standing. But I mean, there were no bad seats, and we're all singing House of the Rising Sun to the top, at the top of our lungs, And I mean, I tell you what, I'll never forget that. I really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah.
Bill Wine might be
Here's
considered psych.
Here's
Hey,
my brother, Richie.
Hi, Richie.
wait, I'm trying to adjust my camera. I'm trying to be like Royce with my hat on backwards.
No, it takes 10 years off you, brother.
What does? The hat or
No, the hat on backwards.
I'm hearing it. I'm
You
hearing
look
a
like
delay.
a skater.
do I have to X out of the YouTube?
No,
Yes.
you don't have to do any. Wait, what's going on?
Yes. Get out
Or
of
just
YouTube.
mute it.
Oh yeah, X out of YouTube for sure.
Well, he exited himself out.
Wrong one.
We lost half the crew.
You know,
So
you're talking
Harry,
about.
how you doing? You've got a hell of a collection behind you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's great.
That's just one wall. It goes on 2 more walls as well.
Wow.
Oh, I can imagine. Well, I've been collecting vinyl, but what's crazy is you can see over my shoulder here is a CD rack of CDs, and oh, look at that! Wow, wow. I was working. Look at that.
Took a long time to put it all
Yeah.
together. Let me tell
It
you.
does take a long time. You know, Harry, I was working on a construction site, and the guy almost burnt the whole apartment building down. I think he had a barbecue up on his deck, and he torched his whole deck and stuff. So I got hired by the housing authority to go there and rebuild this deck. And the guy walks out one day, and he asked me if I like music, and I said, "Well, of course. You know, in fact, I've got a musical podcast." The next thing you know, I'm showing him shows on my podcast, and he goes, "Oh, well, that's cool. That's cool." And he gave me a couple of CDs. So 2 days later, he walks out. We spent maybe a total of 3 minutes talking, and he goes, "So, do you like CDs?" And I go, "Yeah, sure, absolutely, man. I'm starting to reassemble, trying to get all mine back together." And he goes, "Well, I've got a box of about 160. If you know anybody that's interested." I said, "I'll take them." I'm getting ready to do a show. It'll be just a pre-recorded show. You can see the rack over my shoulder there with the 160 CDs he gave me. And I'm talking like 7 Pink Floyds, Beatles, Hendrix, the band. I mean, you name it, it's in there. It just blew me away completely. So I'm going to do a little pre-recorded show on that haul of CDs I got. Anyway, so let's go on here. So Rachel.
Modern psych. Brian Jonestown Massacre. Thank God for mental illness.
Thank God for mental illness.
This is fantastic. It's got Nevertheless on it. That's Jim Jarmusch, the director of Dead Man that Neil Young did the music to.
Oh, okay. Wow, nice.
Brian Jones, Strung Out in Heaven, pure modern psych. All the rest, take it from the man. Brian Jonestown Massacre. And check this. This is Satanic Majesty's request, the second request,
Jonestown Massacre.
By the Brian Jonestown Massacre. And so these guys are excellent. They are a lot of fun. And but there's them, King Gizzard, the Wizard, a Lizard Wizard. That's a new psych thing.
Wow. Well, you know, when you think about some of these other bands, I mean, the Cream. Think of some of those Cream songs. I mean, if that's not psychedelic. Of course, Vanilla Fudge. We already mentioned that. Shotgun song.
There's the acid test.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, look at that. Nice.
Nice, Harry.
Nice. Very.
It's a little strange.
Well, there's the whole Brown Acid series, which is also highly regarded. The Brown Acid, I think they're up to 15 or 16. It's a compilation idea. It's kind of same thing as this, only with different bands, American based psych music. So pretty cool.
You know, to change my background, I want to show you something here. This 2 nights ago. Get out of the way here.
Thank you, Zeb. Right? We're a work in progress. Go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry.
Is that guy right there in the background?
Yeah, in the black shirt.
Robert Plant, 2 nights ago at a record store here locally.
No, that is cool. Holy crap. What a smart guy to tie the hair up, right?
And if you notice, he's in the 70s section, so.
Yeah.
Wow.
He knows what to do.
I got another one of them.
The latest Brown Acid just came out. Yeah, 14. They're up to 14. Eric collects them all too.
Let me bring this up here.
Eric's the Plastic Soundwave cult.
I sent one to Patrick so he could rip it. I only had one. Where's that store located, Dan?
In Grand Prairie, Texas. It's between Dallas and Fort Worth.
That's a good looking store.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up another picture here.
Okay.
Let me get it.
Harry, we need more high tech on our channels. Like Dan stuff.
No kidding.
Here we go.
Yeah, Harry, I'm really glad you joined us, buddy. This is cool.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Harry's got a great collection. He's very knowledgeable.
I saw his collection. Yeah, it's crazy.
I didn't get it adjusted right. Let me go
Okay,
back.
well, that's Robert Plant. We can still recognize him, even from the lower jaw.
Wow.
Yeah. And I guess that's a store owner there with him.
Oh, is it? Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and show some pictures now, Dan. I've got some psychedelic band pictures. Here's the first one.
Very popular one.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are included with the Beatles One album. If you got that double album, they're number one.
I'm going to see Roger Waters in about 10 days or so.
Oh, no kidding.
There he is, man. What a great shot that is.
Yeah. Of course, we've all seen that one a million times. I've used it a few times on show. Look at this with the little teddy bears dancing in front of him.
They got to be the ultimate psych band, I think, in a way.
Yeah, no, I think so. Okay, we've got this one. Grateful Dead.
It's not a skull. The skulls are the best ones.
No, they really are. Here's another one, Rachel.
Good.
So iconic.
Yeah,
Jim Morrison.
It's a great classic shot.
No, I tell you, this next one, I used it in my advertisement for the show, and I really like this one. It's like the Wizard of Oz, Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Well, there's a thing where you can play Dark Side of the Moon or something, and it works with the movie.
I think there's a video on YouTube where somebody's done it.
Yeah, they sync them up, and apparently it matches beautifully.
You know, I went to a Pink Floyd laser light show, just the laser light show, not Pink Floyd, but it was at a planetarium. And this is back like 1979.
That's right. I remember those, the planetarium shows.
I went to one at the Seattle Center.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was called Laser Floyd.
Yeah.
Hey, Bobby. Bobby, how you doing, buddy?
We were tripping. Hey, Bobby.
This is great, Royce. More people are finding you.
Yeah, no, I'm making a lot of friends, Rachel, and there's just so many good people out there, you know.
Yeah.
In the podcast world.
You know, when they first came out with lasers, I think who was the first ones to really use it? I forgot now.
Blue Oyster Cult.
No, this
were early on.
Was it Wings?
No, it was Led Zeppelin was like the second band that did it, because some other band did it first, and they said that was look cool. So Led Zeppelin started doing it. Then the Who saw it and said, "Well, we got to have that." So the Who started doing laser light shows. But see, that was back in the days before they realized that those lasers they were using were actually dangerous, and they weren't reflecting them with mirrors to keep away from the audience. Because I remember being at the Who concert and saw these red laser lights coming down from the stage, and it was right on my chair. We're going, "Oh my God, look at that!" You know, not knowing that that was dangerous at the time.
That's what happened to me.
You know, and now we have laser light shows. They've got, you know, like on the stage, they'll have it mirrored where they'll be like in a cage, look like you're inside a cage. It really doesn't come out to the audience anymore.
Did you see the chat a little while ago when I put in the Bob Dylan song, My Back Pages?
No, I missed that too. It's kind of hard. I mean, it goes by so fast sometimes.
But anyway, Daddy Boggs commented on it. He put in one of the lines like at the end of the verse. But let me just read you a couple of words from it, okay?
Okay, go ahead.
If you want to get the psychedelic, I mean, I don't look at him as like a psychedelic person, but listen to these words, okay? Crimson flames tied through my ears, rolling high and mighty traps. Pounced with fire on flaming roads, using ideas as my maps. We will meet on edges soon, said I, proud neath heated brow. Oh, but I was so much older then. I'm younger than that now.
Yeah, no, those are great lyrics. Great lyrics.
If that's not psychedelic or something, I don't know.
No, it's psychedelic.
That's a whole nother level of poetry right there.
I want to throw out a quick shout out to my friend Bobby Gas 5. You want to go check out Bobby Gas 5 and check his show out. He's a great guy, very knowledgeable too.
Yeah, he's got a lot of history.
When he was
Got
there,
some great stories.
He's got some great stories. I love the way he tells them too.
I know it. He tells it so matter of factly, like it happens to everybody. You know?
I had to get the dog to shut him up.
So Richie, I better give my brother a shout out here. This is my younger brother, Richie Eddings. He likes to call me his younger brother. He's got a show. You go once a week, Rich? The Jesus Movement.
Yeah, I've been trying to do once a week, but I've been ended up going like maybe a Saturday or Sunday morning, and then I'm trying to have Monday nights all the time too.
Right.
7:00. So I'm just kind of getting into the steady times. Monday and Saturday is probably what it's going to be.
Right. And my younger brother Richie here spent his life playing guitar in Las Vegas, and even after he left Vegas, but he was in bands all over town. He got written up by Forrest Duke, who was writing up, Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and Sammy Davis. He got written up as him and his wife as a must-see duo, right alongside all of those guys in there. And I tell you what, they were a must-see duo too. They were fantastic. But he has a lot of great bands. He played in a lot of bands. I'm 3 years older than him, with my high school friends that were musicians. Barry,
right.
Dwayne, and so many.
That's why I thought of that song on my back pages, because it was when I was with Barry and Dwayne and Kelly when we did that song.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's
right. I got that
yeah.
album. Yeah, Status Quo, great album.
I thought the Birds did that too. Bob Dylan wasn't in the Birds, was he?
Say that again, Rich. I'm sorry. What was that?
Was Bob Dylan part of the Birds?
Not that I don't think so. I think he was solo probably before the Birds. Bob Dylan's been around a long time.
No, Dylan just influenced them. That's all the connection is.
Okay, because we used to announce that song being done by the Birds.
They covered
the Birds did it as well.
Okay. I didn't even know it was Bob Dylan until I just looked it up.
Yeah, the Birds covered. Everybody was so enamored of Bob Dylan, so the Birds really worshipped him, and they did. Tambourine Man had a big hit with that.
Oh yeah.
And My Back Pages. So it was Roger McGuinn really loved Dylan. I'm sure the other guys did too.
I got a video, one of my, Tours of Famous Places playlist or something like that. And it's me and Jordan the Lion standing in an alley in London. And Bob Dylan was being accused of having a lot of foul language in his song, Subterranean Homesick Blues. Bob Dylan standing in that alley with these huge placards with the words to the songs.
Yeah.
He'd have the front one showing where you could see that it wasn't foul language. He flipped that one, grabbed the next one, flipped that one, grabbed the next one. And Jordan the Lion and I am standing there, and we got the alley behind us, and Jordan's got that video playing on his phone, and I'm filming the alley and his phone at the same time.
So you guys were in the UK for that?
Yeah.
I know exactly where you were. You're behind the Savoy Hotel, because when I was there in 2016, I got my wife Sue. I go, move on. You got to move there. You're right where Dylan was standing. I got her right by the building, and in the backward in that video, you see Allen Ginsberg burning. He's got a barrel burning some papers in there. You see that in Mormon.
You know what's crazy, Rachel, is we're watching the video, and there's some construction work going on in the alley on some of the buildings. And as we were standing there filming all that, it seemed like the same construction work was still going on 30
in 1966. Yeah.
And then we got to one over there.
It's right in behind the Savoy off the Strand. And if you follow the Strand straight down, it'll take you straight up to Trafalgar Square. So it's iconic all over the place.
Do you guys want to hear something funny?
Then we went straight up to the flat owned by Harry Nilsson that he used to lend out to his rock star friends. And he owned the flat that both Mama Cass and Keith Moon died in. Yeah. They both died in that flat. And we filmed that a little bit too. It's kind of sad.
I have that Wooden Ships album. I'd say it's psych,
Go ahead, go.
Yeah.
I got an old story. You remember Pat Boone?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, of course.
You want to hear probably the most psychedelic he ever got?
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Look at that.
There you go.
Remember, Pat Boone?
I was watching Johnny Carson, right, one night. It was way back. Pat Boone was pretty young, and I was late watching Johnny Carson. And Pat Boone happened to be on that night. And guess what? He come out, and he was dressed in this leather outfit, right? And he sang Deep Purple. No, he sang Smoke on the Water. Did anybody see that? It was crazy.
Yeah.
That's Pat's famous metal album. Yeah.
That is
Oh,
crazy.
They actually have a signed Pat Boone
I'll be
album.
darned. That blew me away.
Yeah.
That was
all-
his.
he's
Look
all
at
low
Yeah, I've
voice
seen
and
that
everything.
video.
Hey, Harry.
Yeah.
Harry, you got the white shoes there. Pat Boone was world famous for his white shoes. Pat
Oh,
Boone.
yeah.
Well, when he
Right.
signed the
Yeah,
album,
he was. Yeah.
when he signed, this is a UK pressing, but he says, Harry, these were the tools. These were my tools. Warmly, Pat Boone.
Wow.
That's fantastic to have an autograph one.
You guys got a great
Yeah.
collection. Have some Pat Boone in there, I'll tell you.
Yeah. I have Debbie Boone.
Deep Purple, of
Oh,
course.
Deep
Smoke on the Water is Deep Purple, and it's off the album Machine Head. And Pat Boone did this probably on his metal album. I never bought it, but there's some very famous Pat Boone all metals cover that Zepp's talking about below.
Right.
Well,
right.
I'll tell you,
Crazy
it wasn't
Train,
Deep
Crazy
Purple, but
Train.
he did it with this low, deep voice too. He wasn't like screaming the song.
Pat Boone did Crazy Train. You got to be kidding me.
He did.
That is
Oh, wow.
fantastic.
Oh my
That must have been
God.
great too.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear that one.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Have you heard Steve and Edie Gourmet do Black Hole Sun?
No.
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 You're
God.
kidding.
Oh yeah, you got to check that out.
Holy crap.
Yeah,
Edie
definitely.
Gourmet,
It's,
but I don't
very
know what else
loungy,
they
but it's good.
Yeah.
I don't know any of their music. I know who they are, but I don't know any of their music. You know, that's too funny.
Hi, Bill.
That is
You know,
funny.
Robert Plant was in town a couple of nights ago. I didn't get to go to the show. Unfortunately, I looked. Normally before a big show like that, they'll release more tickets right before the concert starts.
Right.
And I meant to look earlier in the day, but it was like an hour and a half before the show started, and I just happened to look it up. Suite tickets in a suite for $73 a piece, and there's no way I can make it.
Whoa.
But
Right.
but somebody was in the audience and filmed some of it and posted on Facebook, and it's so weird hearing Robert Plant and Alison Krauss singing a Zeppelin tune. They put a whole different spin on it. You can tell which song it is, but it's so mellow on
Right.
whole lot of love. I mean, it just
Wow.
it's so weird that you can take one song and make it sound like a totally different song, just the way it's
He
arranged.
can't hit the notes anymore, so he's got to change it. Yeah.
Well, I did notice that he was singing the lower parts and she was singing the higher parts.
Yeah,
How that
I
is-
saw them quite a few years ago at Hardly Strictly Bluegrass.
One of the things I respect is Robert Plant is staying in his lane. I mean, he's aging like we all are, and he I mean, you hear so many of you hear about people, big stars, lip syncing, and being totally carried by the backup singers and things like that. And Robert's out there doing it. He knows what his limitations are, and he's doing a great job. And I have nothing but respect for him, as always.
Mhm.
No, last time I
Because
saw
look at the
Robert.
money he's walking away from
Oh
by
yeah.
doing a reunion.
Yeah. No, I would sell everything I own to go
Okay,
see.
Vance.
Well, I saw Robert Plant 9 years ago when he was here in Dallas, and that's when he had that group called the Space Shifters. I don't know,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
and they were like hillbilly sound. It's like Led Zeppelin hillbilly style. It was just so weird.
That is funny.
But
I
I don't think
I haven't heard that one.
I don't think Robert could handle it like a touring, like a 20-year-old touring around the world. But when he needs to, if it was a one-off or a special concert, then yeah, I bet you he could nail it. I've heard that he can do it really good still.
Well, I
Jeff
just
Earl heard the same thing.
Look at that. It's not true, Harry. He can hit the
Okay.
notes. Trust me. That's a good one.
You're getting Vance getting a going.
If anybody would know, it would be Vance.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy.
I saw a really good interview the other day. It's kind of an old interview. It was Robert Plant, being interviewed by Dan Rather.
Oh,
And,
really?
Great interview. And, Robert Plant explains in that interview why he's not really hot about doing the Zeppelin stuff anymore. He said, like Stairway to Heaven. He said that song had a place and time, and that's where it needs to be. It needs to be in that place and time. It doesn't need to continue.
That's interesting.
That's kind of like what I was saying earlier, the way I am.
Yeah.
I'll work on a project for like 4 years. Then I'll move on to something else. And I don't mess that other project anymore. I've already done it. Why would I want to go back and do something
My
I've already
wife
done?
accuses me of doing that on every project around our house.
You stop after 4 years and move on to something else.
Yeah,
I'm recommitting. I'm recommitting.
Right.
What Dan's saying there is, I've heard that reflected by other artists. Like the people ask, "What's your favorite song you ever wrote?" He goes, "The one I'm working on right now."
Yeah.
That's their favorite thing because that's where the passion is. That's where all their energy. It's not in the track record of before, the legacy. It's what they're currently working on. That's frequently said. And we know all this. They go, "Here's our new song. We know you aren't excited about it. You want to hear the old one, but here's our, or the cover band that goes, okay, here's one of our own." And everybody goes, "Oh boy, here we go."
Yeah, nothing worse than going to a concert to see a band that you're familiar with this band, but they just released a new album and you haven't heard it yet. And the first time you hear it is in concert. To me, those are the most unenjoyable concerts because you can't get into the music. You don't know the music yet.
Yeah, I saw Bowie during that Glass Spider tour, and the fact that he had Tony Basil flipping around as one of the dancers and Peter Frampton as his guitar player at that time. So I got a chance to see Frampton, but he wasn't playing any of his old stuff. It was just dedicated to this lame-ass Glass Spider that was overblown production, for one thing. But he sure had charisma, but, for what I wouldn't have done for Panic in Detroit, but it is what it was. So
yeah.
At least I got to see him, right?
Yeah, I didn't know Dan Rather was in Bad Company. Thank you. Dave,
Yeah,
the pickup artist, right here.
That's helpful. That's really
Dave,
helpful.
the pickup artist. Great show. Subscribe to him.
He was in the band Bad Company?
That's what probably a good show. Take it with a grain of salt. How about that?
Yeah, we are talking about psychedelic tonight, so somebody's under psychedelics.
Another psychedelic? Yeah. Let's see.
Free.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
What about country psych? Like Graham Parsons, International Submarine Band. Is that considered psych? Some of it, or country psych?
Hot tuna, maybe.
Well, psychedelic, it crosses all genres: blues, folk, country.
Electric hot tuna.
Yeah. Can't Find My Way Home, Blind Faith. Break On Through to the Other Side, The Doors. I Feel Free, The Cream. Of course, Hey Joe, Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Oh, what a great song.
Everything Hendrix did was psychedelic.
Well, to me, that's the same way with the Doors. I mean, anything Jim Morrison did had to be drug related. I mean, that guy was.
I know.
There's a video online with about 4 hours of Hey Joes, like different people playing Hey Joe one after the other.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
I can almost play the intro.
I can do. Okay, here's my bit on it.
Okay, good.
All right.
We have to strat
Oh,
for
nice.
it. All right, hang on. I could just play a little bit of it. It's okay. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. Hold on.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah, you and I should get together because.
Well, the G's not right, but you get the idea.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you. You almost
Anyway,
inspired me.
that's the lick.
Not bad at
That's
all.
the lick. That is the lick. Yeah.
That's not good
You
either,
don't
but
know
it is
Jack,
what it
you
is.
don't know
That's what I can
Norma.
do for you kids. Yeah, what a great song it is. Anyway, this video. It goes on like for 4 hours with just back to back shows. Yeah,
That's one way to.
I've got that 8-album Hendrix box set, It is still in the shrink wrap. It was made in 2000,
Yeah.
so it's already 22 years old. Never been out of the shrink wrap, and now I don't even want to take it out. And it's the only one that was made with the velvet cover. You can still buy it, but this one's got the velvet cover.
The velvet.
I didn't realize that. I didn't even realize that till I was buying it, and somebody said, "Oh yeah, it's got the velvet cover." I'm like, what? You know.
They also did a CD box set in velvet too.
Okay. Did they? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll grab that just for fun.
Rhinestone
Dan,
Cowboy.
I see you got your psychedelic. You see you got your psychedelic background.
No, you're just tripping.
Oh, could be. I don't know.
Whoa.
Oh, kicked in finally.
Somebody crashed.
He still got his microphone going.
Okay, being the Hendrix fan that I am, here's like my holy grail here. Velvet cover.
Nice.
Look how thick that is. 8 albums.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't know how many times you were mentioning like Hey Joe or Purple Haze, and I think all of them are on here multiple times. There's no studio albums here. It's all just outtakes.
This is the same thing in velvet.
Yeah, that is the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And CD. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. I've got
that was part of that collection I got, Rachel. The guy gave me.
Oh, good.
Harry, so there's no studio albums in that Hendrix?
No
Electric
studio albums.
Ladyland or any of that?
No, nothing.
No, it's all unreleased stuff.
Okay.
Right. 40 page.
Yeah, you should pick this up.
Yeah, I can get it. I know where I can get it. In fact, I can get it either in the album format or the CD format. The album format is about $224 or so. Up here in Canadian dollars. Keep in mind, Canadian bucks, folks. You Americans can knock it off by about $35 cheaper.
And basically, it's unheard songs are your favorite, Hendrix songs. Unheard.
I love the Marmalade.
And I haven't heard them yet. It's still in the shrink wrap.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the Marmalade. They were great. British band.
What was their big hit?
They did the world is a bad place, a terrible place.
Yeah.
But I don't want to die. All my crying. Man, great stuff. I love those guys.
I used to do that one at open mic. I haven't done that one in a long
Reflections
time.
of my life. That's it. Reflections.
That's it. Yeah.
Thanks, Daddy Bug. Zappa, the Mothers of Invention.
Yeah.
I don't have a single Zappa album in my collection. It's just too far out for me. It's too psych for me. I don't know.
And as far out as it was, he was drug free.
I was about to say that. I don't know if Zappa would want to be put into that category.
No. Well, maybe, but not. He didn't like drugs.
Yeah.
But it was so different. The vocals and the weird timing signatures in the music, It's not one of ththose Dick Clark. It's got a great beat, Dick, and I can dance to it. I'll give it a 75.
Zep Pearl, I just want to say to Zep Pearl that I did mention the Mothers of Invention way earlier. Great band, Great band.
I met Frank Zappa in 1977 at a club here in Dallas.
Wow.
He was in town to do a show, and a friend of mine and his older brother did lawn care at this mansion. And it's a mansion where all the rock stars always stayed when they come to Dallas to do a show. McCartney stayed there. The Stones stayed there. Well, Frank Zappa was there, and I guess he struck up a conversation with Frank. And Frank said, well, I'm going to be at Mother Blues tonight. I'll see you there. Well, he tells all of his friends, we all show up at the club. Frank Zappa walks in, recognizes him, and he's actually sat at our table for about 15 minutes. I'm just like starstruck. That's Frank Zappa sitting across from me, man.
Dan, are you a Ray Wylie Hubbard fan?
Not really.
No? Okay.
No.
He's got a song about Mother Blues.
Oh, really? Yeah, there's a club. It was on
Talks
Lemonade.
about meeting his wife there. She was at the door taking IDs or something, but she was only 16.
I used to go there all the time. It was a good. It was a big house, and very popular. All the rock stars went there. When they were in town. So over on Lemon Avenue. Then they tore it down, and put a car wash up.
Yeah, he said it was a place where people would go after the shows were over.
Yeah. Well, my friends Vinnie Paul and Dimebag Darrell, they owned a part ownership of a strip club, and of course in the '90s and the 2000s, up to early 2000s, if there was a big rock heavy metal concert in town, they'd always go by the strip club afterwards. So if you wanted to meet the rock star, that's how I met a lot of them, just knowing where they're going to be.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, being in Canada, I'm envious of you folks, especially California or New York or Chicago people, maybe Memphis, Nashville. You see people probably that are named people just walking around the corner,
Yeah.
Just because of per capita,
I know here in Dallas, we've had a lot of people come out of Dallas that are very successful. One of the guys from ZZ Top is from Dallas. Stevie Ray Vaughan, Pantera, Fabulous Thunderbirds. I mean, there's a whole list of them. And Dallas has got a lot of talent. It's just amazing. I mean, there's always something good going on. Although I got to admit, the other night I went to a show at a club here. Well, it's actually just a venue about 3 miles from my house. I went there to see called the Zeppelin Project. I go, well, let me check out the Zeppelin Project tribute band. And I've been waiting for the last 3 weeks, waiting to see this band. Well, when we get there, I find out that the opening act is a Stevie Ray Vaughan tribute band. And these guys were dead on, man. It was just like watching Stevie Ray Vaughan. The voice, everything sounded like Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah, you're right. I listened to that today. That was good.
So then after that, the Zeppelin Project gets up there. They sound nothing like Zeppelin. We walked out after 4 songs and said, man, that's just
that's
awful.
Not working, yeah.
The one band I saw that sounded the most like Stevie Ray Vaughan was a band called Indigenous. They're all Native Americans, all related cousins, but God, that guy can play guitar. He's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and some actually
Stevie Ray
easier
Vaughan
to
was a
cover
hell of
than
a
others.
guitar player.
Stevie Ray Vaughan's a tall order, such a gifted guitar player.
Well,
and
you know what?
He had a unique voice too.
His tone was pretty unique. I think his high string, the high E was like a 13, like bridge suspension cables, they probably cut my fingers open if I tried to play with 13s there.
Yeah, I actually got to meet Stevie Ray Vaughan's mother and his brother. A friend of mine, I'm the founder of Ride for a Dime, the big motorcycle concert event here in Dallas. And the one that helped me get started were the guys who did the Stevie Ray Vaughan Remembrance Ride. So I worked with him. So I got to go to, all the Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff. Wow. And his mother, Martha, would show up, is pretty good. She would donate money every year to a scholarship fund.
Wow.
But Jimmy, I only met Jimmy once, and he was not a fan of the event. And but there's not much he could do because his mother endorsed it.
Right.
But after his mother passed away, Jimmy put it into it. He said, "No more of this remembrance crap." Oh, really?
Why was that?
Maybe it was hard for him emotionally.
I never heard a reason why. He just didn't want it to happen anymore, and he'd been trying for years, hinting around that he wanted it to stop. But the promoters kept putting it on every year at the blessing of the mother. But once she was gone, it was over. He stopped it.
I think he had a hard time with it. I think the mom probably felt, I'm just pure conjecture on my part, but that it's remembering her son. She loved him so much, and so it was a fond thing for her. It was a comforting thing for her, but not for Jimmy.
Well, like with
or
me,
maybe he didn't like to be in Stevie's shadow. Who knows?
Like when I started riding.
There's no getting out of that shadow for Jimmy. Sorry, Jimmy.
Well, it's like when I started Ride for Dime, back in 2005, about 8 months after he was murdered. And, of course, I was friends with Vinny as well, but it was real touchy because the murder was still fresh, and he's still grieving.
Right.
And I'm trying to get this event going. Well, Vinny never showed up until the 4th year. 4th year, he finally showed up. And the 5th year, he actually performed for me. So that was pretty cool having him there. But, it takes a while,
Well, I know you were saying you weren't crazy about the whole Pantera tribute concert or reunion, I think they were calling it.
Yeah.
I know you kind of. I think I've noticed that you're kind of warming up to it now, and you may even be filming it.
Well, I'm going to see. I'm going to talk to Rita and see if I can get interview the guys before they do the show, or at least the week they're in town. Maybe I can get an interview with them. I mean, I know all four of them, and but Rita and I didn't leave on really good terms. So, so I haven't even talked to Rita in 6 years. I was going to text her the other day and ask her about that, but I thought I'm going to wait till they get some Dallas, some U.S. dates, because all they've announced so far is South America and Mexico.
Right.
And,
right.
But I was against the fact that they were trying to make it sound like it was a reunion.
Right.
Well, it's not.
Right.
It's not really a reunion. It's more of a tribute. But it's kind of an odd situation because two of the original members, are still in this band. So how do you go? So they're actually advertising it as a celebration of Pantera.
Celebration. I saw that.
So they're not saying they are Pantera. They're just celebrating Pantera.
Yeah.
Okay.
But a lot of
But
people.
yet you've got Leonard Skinner touring as Leonard Skinner, and what is there? One person in the band that's original?
And I don't even know if he tours with them anymore.
So it's okay, whatever. They're playing here at the Puyallup Fair, like 10 minutes from my house.
It's like the old joke. The guy says, I bought George Washington's sword, man, at this auction. It's George Washington's sword. Of course, we had to replace the handle because the handle was rotted, And there's some chips, and there were some chips on the blade, so we replaced the blade, but it still occupies the same space.
It's exactly like it, but different.
Yeah.
It's just been replaced, but it's the same.
So I think if they want to do the Pantera reunion, I'm okay with it, as long as they present it properly. And I don't think they should go in the studio and record anything new. Leave the Pantera library the way it is. Just leave it alone.
Yeah.
I don't think if they created something new, I don't think it would sell. Because everybody's more interested in this reunion than anything else right now.
It's really interesting for people of our generation. I mean, it's got a somewhat sombering note and maybe not the best one to strike, but when I'm 64 years old and I'm 8 when the Beatles are kind of together and doing their stuff, and now Paul McCartney is turning 80 and Ringo's 82, and you kind of go, wow, we're seeing kind of an end of that music that carried that mark and that was with me from cradle to grave, my own grave, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's quite profound. It's poignant. Of course, we have lost so many of the artists. There's hardly a band you can put together from the 60s that still got everybody going. Household names band that we all knew and loved.
Creedence Clearwater tours with 2 members, but they call it Creedence Clearwater Revisited.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
And then they play all the old CCR stuff.
Harry, there is a great video on YouTube it's the best one I've ever seen out of all the trying to make sense of what the hell happened to CCR and why is John Fogerty such a cranky guy about all this. But when you listen to this one thing, I'd never heard it presented like this, and I got it. I went, John Fogerty, you poor bastard. They ripped you off so badly. I felt so sorry for him. I had real compassion for him. He really did try and make it work. And he's a strong ego guy, but he had the chops to make it go. He's writing the songs. He's doing the arranging and stuff. And he said, you need a guy like that, and if there's nobody to balance it off. And sadly, his brother was insecure about it all, his older brother, Tom. So, it's like, I wish it could be different for you, buddy. Jimmy Vaughan, but you're not going to be bigger than your kid brother. It's just the way it goes.
No, Stevie Ray Vaughan was in a league all of his own.
Yeah, and now that he's passed so young, now it becomes a legacy you can't touch.
I mean, his guitar playing was so powerful. It was just amazing.
Yeah, I forget there was a video on guitar players talking about Stevie Ray, and somebody was saying he was better than Hendrix. Somebody who knew Hendrix said, no, Stevie Ray Vaughan was actually better than Jimmy. So,
well, he does a really good job on his songs, and they're kind of updated a little bit, and he's able to, the thing is when Jimi Hendrix first turned his tapes in to have the Jimi Hendrix Experience, the first album, they go, no. You've got, Jimi Hendrix loved to improvise. That's what he loved to do. They said, no, nobody's going to buy a song over 3 minutes long. So he had to go back and just, left a lot of tape on the cutting room floor. Now, today we've got songs that are, 3 and 4 and 5 times that long, and it would have been interesting if he could have just done it his way and did all that improv that he does so great.
That'd have been good for, done it his way would have been good for like albums for at home and stuff like that, and they should have cut it both ways,
Well, that's my favorite part on a lot of these guitar gods is the improv they do that you don't hear on the studio albums. I mean, I don't think Jimmy Page ever plays Led Zeppelin exactly the same way twice. I mean,
that's tough to do.
Eric Clapton said, I don't understand why people are trying to learn my song Crossroads note for note. He goes, I never play it the same way twice.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, now
they're close enough to sound like it, and so people don't really miss a few notes here and there, but because it's the main body is there,
Yeah,
exactly.
going back to this Pantera reunion thing, one of the things they're doing, they don't want any improvisation, improvising during the concert. They want it to sound exactly like Pantera.
Exactly
So one of the things they've done, Zakk Wylde, Ozzy's guitar player, is gonna fill in for Dimebag Darrell, but they're going to use all of Dimebag's gear.
Guitars,
so they're using his guitars, amplifiers, everything. And they're bringing in his old guitar tech as well to make Zakk Wylde sound like Dimebag. So they're doing, to me it'd be bad if you had a Zakk, because Zakk Wylde doesn't sound like Dimebag. He's got his own style. So
so they're going the extra step.
Yeah, same equipment, same tech, everything. The only difference.
Zakk Wylde's got his own signature guitar with the spiral and the
bullseye on the Les Paul.
Yeah, you'll see him with probably a Dimebag Razorback guitar design. So, or one of his older ones.
Right.
I kind of hope that, over the years things have kind of changed, but one of his favorite guitars was the Confederate flag one. I kind of wonder if they're going to keep that one put away because things have changed and they did, 30 years ago.
Things have changed. Yeah, they've been pulling statues.
How many years has it been since he passed?
It'll be 18 years in December.
Wow.
Yeah, early into the new millennium.
Yeah, it was
pretty
December.
shocking.
And friends, I guess I'll take this as my cue to bow out for tonight's show. Kurt CL.
Yeah, I need to get going too.
Okay,
I just want to thank you, Royce.
Oh no, Rachel, anytime. We really enjoy having you on. You're great.
Well, I'm thankful for that.
Yep. Yeah, you got it.
Anyway, everybody, Richie, we'll see you tomorrow night. We'll have a discussion of faith and whatever you want to talk about. I'm all good to go.
I think I'm just going to keep it open for us.
Okay, we'll do that. We can talk about the Tower of Babel. I don't care. We'll just
I'm sure we'll hook on something and go.
All right.
Okay, well, I just want to say that I appreciate all you guys that came on. I really appreciate everybody in the chat. There is no show without you guys. You well appreciated. And did a lot of shout outs tonight. I want another shout out to my cast here, my co-hosts. They've all got great shows, including my younger brother, Richie Eddings, the Jesus Movement. And anyway, so we had a fun time tonight talking about psychedelic music and psychedelic bands and the songs. And so we're going to sign off now. And that's what's going on in Royce's world today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Royce.
Adios. Thank you, Royce.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Love you, Chance. Bye. Love you.
Good night, everybody.